And welcome everyone to session 8 of the Camp Zombie livestream. My name is Kyle Gentry. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. And for those that are still joining in from previous weeks, appreciate that too. And the continued patronage. Hopefully you guys will stick with it and see where we go for the next couple of weeks. This week we're going to focus on redesigning the villain for the series. I did him 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I thought, he just could use, he just was rough design. So I need to go back in and just kind of work on him a bit more. So let me check something real quick. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure my mic was up and you guys could hear me okay. So I know we've got a few people that are going to be new tonight, and I'll repeat this a couple of times. Just I will answer questions. So in the live stream, just go ahead and type in if you have questions about what I'm talking about or the software I'm using or just about animation in general, things like that. I'm not an animator. I design characters for animation, so that's important to remember. I am the first line of defense, as it were, in the chain of people that work on a show. I'm the guy that they give the script to that designs the characters before the animators get to it. They use my work as reference. So all that said, we'll do a quick little recap. So in the first week, I designed the main zombie and his best friend Venny. And there's Venny right there. Cute little guy, and everything is based on his design. The whole show is based on his design. And I've said that before. So this kind of egg shape, very soft, very friendly. We're going to be talking more about shape language tonight when it comes to the villain rework. And this was, I kind of liked the way he came out in his very first design, so I decided to keep him on. I refined him a little bit, made him a little softer in some areas. I gave him some color and cleaned up his lines. And then I designed the zombie, and the first couple of iterations of him I didn't like at all. And then, as you know, a couple weeks ago I came up with him, and his character is basically a zombie he was a teenager in the 1980s at this camp who worked in the kitchen, and he ate some out-of-date patootie to fruity, my own flavor ice cream that gave him terminal brain freeze. So turned him into a zombie, and he's been at the camp ever since, but he was kind of hiding away until this little boy found him and became best friends with him. They got him rehired at the camp, and this kid and all of his friends are the only ones that know he's a zombie. So I won't have to go too much into the recap. There you go. So this was a good design for him. It's a good blend of straight lines and curved lines because he's not exactly villainous at all. He's a good guy. But his personality changes depending on what kind of dessert he eats, as we've said in some of the previous episodes. So I can really play with his look and his attitude. And, the camp director, who we're going to focus on tonight, this dude right here. Don't have a name for him yet. I'm still working on that. But this rough design, it's a good place to start. It's got some good elements that I'll go into in a minute. But, he basically is responsible for this poor teen becoming a zombie. And the zombie's name is Ben Lurkin. So his Lurkin is what we're going to call him. And this director is responsible for... He's trying to find a way to control all the campers, to mind control people, and the ice cream that he used went bad, turned the other kid into a zombie, and it was a failed experiment. But he doesn't know about the zombie. He suspects there is a zombie, that kind of thing. So we'll go into that in story mode when we're talking about that. But for his design, and you can see in a lot of places, I was trying to go for... There's a lot of sharp angles when it comes to villainry. If you look at villains like, say, Hades from Disney's Hercules, he's all angles and he's all triangles and sharp edges, and that denotes his distinction as a villain, and that's what we're kind of going for. So I'm going to use him as a jumping off point. Like I said, there's some good stuff about this design that I really like, but... I'm gonna redesign a bit and make sure my picture isn't covering him up. So like I said, I like some of the things that happen there, and we're gonna I like, for instance, and I'm going to lower his opacity so I can do a little bit of a draw over so you guys can see what I'm thinking. I like this shape right here, like this shape, this kind of triangle shape, and the fact that his ears come out at almost a pointy angle, but his ears aren't totally pointy, and he's got, this angle here. Everything is kind of going against itself. I made him a little too round. I want to play maybe more with that, so that's his rough shape, his rough design. And I want him to, within the first 5 seconds, for people to know that he's the villain. That's the idea of character design. You want very quickly for people to understand if this is a good guy, if it's a bad guy, if it's somebody that you really need to care about as a character, or somebody that's just kind of a background character. That's why background characters don't get overly designed for shows. There's not a lot of detail put into them because we don't want to care too much about those people. We want you to focus on the main storytelling characters. That doesn't mean that the people working on those designs are any less important, but it's just really important to know that the show has to be about this core group of people. So I won't go any more into that. So we basically got that going on. So I'm going to use that, and like I said, I like these shapes. And let's say, in this fictitious show that I'm creating, let's say the director has seen this first design and said, it's almost there. Can we go back and kind of use some of the elements that are there? We kind of like the eyes and maybe this shape or that shape. Can you use some of those and do a redesign? So that's what we're going to do tonight. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free. So I'm going to go off of the same shapes. Maybe push them a little bit more. I'll get rid of that red too now that I've lowered it a lot so I can still see what I'm emphasizing to myself. Maybe gave him a much bigger brow. The other thing that a bigger head design denotes is that he's some kind of super intelligence. Animated movies like Megamind, and if you saw the Powerpuff Girls back in the day with Mojo Jojo, he had a massive helmet on his head that denoted it was all about his brain power. So that's kind of what we're going for. I don't want all these curvy little ridges. If anything, I want to do this a little bit, but not too much. There's a happy balance that I want to strike between the angles and the shape. So if you think about animated movies that you like, and I'm speaking to kind of the younger people in the audience right now, if you think about animated movies that you really like to see or cartoons that you like to watch, what is it about the characters that are good guys or bad guys that you think make them good? What is their body shape or their head shape, or how they move, their body positions, things like that in the show? What is it that screams villain or hero to you? And that's what people like me do, is we have to figure that out and put that in the show. I'm already liking this a lot better. And I'm going to leave up Venny. I'm going to put him down a little bit. Since he's the basis for the design of the show, I don't want to get too far away from his design. So I'm going to stick him over here so I have him kind of out of the way, but I can still pay attention to him. Everything has to revolve around his design. I'm going to be looking at backgrounds next week. I thought I might do it this week, but I decided to spend one more week on one of the characters. I'm going to be looking at some of the environmental stuff next week, like what does a camp look like? This camp is in the Everglades of Florida, so like we've said before in some of the past videos, there are going to be these rickety cabins on stilts, and everything's connected via little pathways on like mounds of dirt and wooden planks, kind of bridges, rickety, things like that. Muted colors that'll really make the characters pop, but give you this kind of somber mood to this camp, which is supposed to be all happy because it's a kids camp. So we'll play around with that, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've been looking forward to that since we started because I'm mainly focused on character design, but and my job as also a concept artist, which is part of what a character designer does a lot of times, is environments. Yeah, so we'll give a little bit more angularity to his eyebrows. Yeah, that screams it. Okay. I'm not I'm keeping it rough on purpose. As I've said, I want to be able to go back and fix something very quickly. And I need to be careful that I don't lose the way the eyes are in all these characters, because if you'll notice down in Vinny, it's like I've said before, you've got these lines denoting the outside of his eyes, but there's no line in the inside, kind of like it's just these two white spheres that have kind of grown together in the middle. I don't want to lose that in my other characters. There's a few that have eyes that are further apart, and the adults, I get away with putting a line in the middle because they're adults, and there's a kind of a youth versus age thing here. So I'll put a line here. I want his eyes to be a little smaller, because one thing about Venny's eyes is they're big and they're wide-eyed and they're innocent. And it looks like he's looking up. I don't want to do that. That's a little better. Yeah. I'll tighten up the details in a minute. I want some kind of maybe some bags under his eyes like I did in the original drawing. I don't want his nose looking too beak-like. I'm starting to do that. I'm keeping the nose as simple. I had a really... Dang it, I'm losing the beauty of that original nose. So what I'm going to do is, if there's a piece of the old drawing that I like, I'm going to copy it over to the new one, because, and I've done that before, where there will be a piece that I really like, and that's what I was going for, and I wasn't getting. There we go. Okay. I said just and for those that don't know, when I talk about shape language, it's what does the basic shape of the character tell you about them. So like I said, angles and sharp edges, things like that, what does that tell you about this villain? Like, you know, it tells you that they're a villain. It tells you everything you need to know. And for those that know my work as a character illustrator, this is definitely a lot more simplified than what you're used to seeing me draw. Like, and that's the point. I like doing various different styles and things like that. And this is for hand-drawn animation. That's what I'm imagining this would be. So I'm designing it specifically for that. Now I went kind of nuts with his hair in the other original drawing, and I'm just going to do 3 lines. I'm going to continue this shape down like I did over here. And I've got kind of this wide stance to all my characters in this lineup, because they all have to fit the same kind of design language. And I want him to be kind of short and squat for an adult. So this is definitely much more in line with the base design of the characters. And I'll shrink Venny down to show you what his size comparison would be when I get him a little more roughed out. So make him a little bit of a spare tire hanging down. Maybe give him kind of a arrowhead kind of belt buckle. Keep that sharpness going. Have this thing with putting a zipper on the pants. I always made me laugh on cartoon characters how they would draw pants and they wouldn't show a zipper. on some of the early cartoons. I'm like, come on, man. So, a little bit of cuffs going on here, maybe. Yeah. So it's super rough. Like I said, I'm gonna clean it up. Do the same clipboard thing. And there'll be a version of him wearing like a lab coat, you know, like a scientist kind of a deal, you know. Maybe he's got a hidden layer or something in the director's cabin. Or the arts and crafts cabin or something that nobody uses anymore. I had the idea that he had some kind of military insignia on here, and no, I just, you know, I'll just put DIR for director. I wanted to get away from the fact that they look like scouts. You know, I want them to have a scout-like appearance, but I wanted to get away from that a bit because they're not the scouts. But I might still put the epaulets on his sleeves with a little thing, like maybe he wants to be more of like a military looking, you know. Should have drawn the sleeves first. I'm just doing basic shapes to let me know where things are, so when I go back and I do a cleanup of this, I can make it accurate. You guys are quiet tonight. And I do what's called pancake feet on a lot of these characters just because I think it's so fun. And, you know, in the back of my head I can hear what they sound like when they flop around. And, you know, they're almost like clown shoes on some of the characters. Grab some of my coffee. Okay, it's a good place to start. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to do cleanup, a little bit of a cleanup layer. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay. What do I want to use? This is where I get... there we go. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I use a variety of pencil tools in my program. And for those that are just tuning in tonight, this program is called Clip Studio Paint. It's the new kind of like standard for people like me and for illustrators. I don't paint in Photoshop. I don't like it. I use it for color correction and things like that. But it's not my go-to. Another good one that I'll use in one of these sessions, maybe when I do the background stuff, is Painter, Corel Painter. That one's really nice, but it's very taxing on your computer system. It requires a ton of memory. But it mimics real media. If you want to look like you're painting watercolor or pen and ink, you can. And it's pretty top-notch for that. We'll get kind of a fun little angle going on with his eyebrows here. there's a little bit of a soulful quality in his eyes on the original drawing that I've lost a little bit, and I think it's because I didn't rough out the eyes as tightly as I should have in the beginning, so we'll fix that. Even if it's a villain, the villain still has to be relatable, design-wise. You still have to feel like, you know, you can relate to them in some measure. That's what makes a good villain. If they're relatable enough that you feel like, you know, you can understand why they're doing what they're doing, that makes a good villain, and you can convey that in drawing. And some of it I can't describe. Some of it's just innate in how I design, but some of it can be thought about. Ooh, I like that line. That's nice. Oh, you know what? I elongated his eyes too. The other characters have these big round eyes, and I elongated his eyes a little too much in this sketch, so I'm going to fix that and make them more rounded. I'll do the specular highlight in his pupil in just a minute. Do it with a white pen. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, and I mentioned last time there was a movie that M. Night Shyamalan did called Unbreakable, Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, and Samuel L. Jackson's character is villainous, and he describes what a villain in a comic looks like, and their eyes get further apart and kind of angular and things like that. So I'm playing a little bit of that with a space here. I get a little bit detail oriented when I get this close, so bear with me. It's worth it, I promise. And I will keep redrawing a line until I get it to look exactly the way I want. There is a bit of orientation that I'm learning with. I just got a new computer, so getting my pen tablet to behave like it used to is a little tricky. There's some input elements that I'm still working with, and I had to take another piece of equipment off of it because it was interfering with my Cintiq, my drawing tablet that I'm on. Ah, there we go. Okay, that's what I want. I get this back to white. There's that soul. There's what you want. Even if it's a dark little soul, there it is. Now, problem is he's looking ahead, and I want him to look. He's looking at you sideways, so I'm just going to select that and move the pupil around. Maybe move the other one not quite as far. Because it also denotes the eyes being further apart, except it still needs direction, so I'm going to move it a little bit more. You know what? I shouldn't have done that. Let me move the whole eye. I think it's too far over anyway. There we go, that's better. Now he looks shifty, and that's what we're looking for. There's a kind of a scoundrel lurking in there. I might change where I put that light, because that helps with directionality. It shows highlight, but it also helps with where the character's looking. Yeah, that's gonna be tricky. There we go. That's better. Yes. Much better. Okay. Eyes are definitely more in tune with the style of the show. If you look at Venny and you look at him, the eyes are... They look like they're the same style, even though one belongs on an adult and they're further apart and the other is on a kid that's wide-eyed and innocent. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that kind of common language. Now I'm going to fix a little bit of this line because it's a little too angular. That's that input I was telling you about, getting used to the tablet the way it is now. And as I've said, I'm picking the, there's a little transparent box underneath the colors for my brush, and that means that I can turn any brush into an eraser. I'm selecting that so I don't have to keep flipping my stylus around on the tablet. And the underdrawing is just a general guide. It's just there to give me a placement of line I can mess around with that anywhere I want, you know, because some of the lines I'm not feeling, but I like, in a rough sense, where they're placed. Yeah, that's working. All right. I think I hear my dog outside. I think my wife took him out to go to the bathroom. My older dog. We have 2 beagles, and my other one's sitting down at my feet, totally asleep. He's usually really loud, but he loves being around me, so he's being super quiet. Yes. Yes, this is looking nice. I might come back and shrink that nose up a little bit, but I like it for right now. I'm going to keep it. But I want him bald, but I want him to have big mutton chop like sideburns. So I'm just going to imply those right here. I want him to kind of wrap around this shape. So as I go along too, eventually we're going to come to like, okay, to the point where like designs are approved and things like that. Now we start on expressions and whatnot. This is just a baseline to go off of. So it gives the animators an idea of how they need to make him move, and what the movement says everything about his villainhood. So there's a certain way that he might walk or things like that, and I need to indicate that with still drawings so that they know how to make it move properly. And I hope you guys are liking I came up with a new format for with a little green frame around my video. I'm kind of new at this live streaming thing, and there's several live streamers that I look at that have like a frame around their stuff because the screen that they're capturing from is not the right aspect ratio. So I hope you guys are liking that, because that was a big triumph this week, and I'll do a little bit more detail work. This is just a basic one to start with. I'm gonna have maybe something that's more for the show on the side, and I'm also, as I promised last week, I'm gonna be doing videos that have to do with my Macabre McMorbidlies, which is my creepy family that I do illustrations for. That's going to be like Macabre Mondays or something. And it's not going to be live stream. That's just going to be a pre-made video. And I'll just do videos of like me rendering the characters and designing. And I also do these quick stuff that goes up on Instagram that are like little 30-second long time-lapse drawings of how when I'm first starting to draw one of the family members, like going on about it. I also do my Disney drawings. That way I go to Disney once a week here in Orlando and create character designs out of tourists that are walking around. And you'll see time lapses of those up there as well. Didn't get one done this week. I have it, I just haven't loaded it up. I've been super busy trying to get this stuff done for the live stream and get it up and running. You know, he looks angry. He doesn't look evil enough. So one thing that'll help is if I drop the brows down just above the eye level, so it really looks like he's got the frowny brow going on. Yeah, there we go. There it is. That was in the original drawing and I liked it better, so keeping it. Yes, that's much better and much more villainous in my opinion. I don't like these kissing lines. I don't like the way that looks. Let's bring this up all the way up to here. Yeah, that works. Okay. Lines that look like they're just about to touch um, drive me crazy because they're not designed. They're not designed well. That shows a lack of knowledge in design work. You haven't planned the space out well, so I try to avoid those. Oh, you like the green? Thank you so much. I'm glad you do. It's a. I think it was more pleasant than just having it the way I had it before. And as I said, I'm learning, so I appreciate the patience. But I'm so glad you like it. And thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you got to see Sleeping Dumplings. I hope you got to see Lost Bear Studios this week. He had a good one. I wasn't able to do it live. I love watching his live streams on Mondays. Wasn't able to do it live. I had house stuff to do, and it's a bit late for me. I know he's doing it off hours, but for those that don't know, Lost Bear Studios is a studio created by Greg Baldwin, who is a part of Creature Box. He used to work for Insomniac Games, and he's on Monday nights. And I highly suggest you give him a watch if you can, because his stuff is amazing. He does character designs for all kinds of stuff. Most notably for video games, for the Ratchet and Clank video game franchise, for Insomniac, along with Dave Garten, who's the other part of Insomniac. And I would urge you to give him a watch because he's great. All right. Yeah, this is so much better now. I'm feeling a lot better about this. It looks more in tune with the language of Venny's character design. The only thing I might change is how long his legs are when I get to it, because I don't want him to look like he's on stilts. And that's a design flaw, so we're going to fix that right now. That was not intended, so I'm going to bump those up. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Oh yeah. I didn't copy him exactly, but I like the idea that he had of doing that outline around both his video stream, like where he's drawing from, and his video capture of him. So I'm gonna change it a little bit so it doesn't look just like his or anything, because I'm not trying to copy or anything. I have way too much respect for that guy, and I want to do something original. But his was a good way to jump start off to see if I could pull it off. But yeah, I'm so glad you're able to watch it. He had a good one. When I rewatched it after the fact, he had a really good one. So yeah, that comment was for the Lost Bear Studios, that my frame looks a lot like his, and it does, because I used his as a template. But I'm gonna go change it. I'm gonna change it around and fiddle with it. Yeah, he does look kidder. I see what you're saying. Yeah, he there was a acidity to his personality in the original drawing that didn't need to be there. That I didn't like. I don't want anybody in the show to be so evil looking that you don't want to watch them. That's a design fail. And art directors would be put off by that anyway. I had the art director that I worked on for the Magic Poof, the kid show that's still in development and being pitched. It's about a little girl with magical hair that's alive. It's such a great idea. I can't wait to get it working. But I pitched an idea for a villain in there that hasn't been shown to anybody. And we loved it, but I had to tone him way back from what I originally had, because he was really, really evil looking in the beginning. And it was too much. It was like almost scary, cartoony, and I had to learn how to pull it way back. Yeah. Yeah, I think I can get away with the epaulets. Put a pocket over here. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the that outline is works a lot better now, so much better now. And this isn't really super cleaned up. I'm still using a rough pencil, but yeah, there's something a lot more, like you're saying, cohesive. That's a great word, cohesive about this particular redefinition of him, and I think this is the direction. I might not do a full redesign again, but I might, when I'm cleaning him up, make a few subtle changes for the cleanup. I do like giving him very short forearms. There's something to be said about short forearms on a short dude. That line needs to come back. He's a little off center if I did it that way. It automatically makes your brain think of Tyrannosaurus Rex because they've got a huge body and tiny little arms that can't do nothing. So I'm playing off of that riff a little bit. He's not tall by any means, but I want him to feel a little useless, inadequate in a visual way. And all villains are on some level or another, whether it's a personality problem or whether it's a actual physical issue. And this guy, the one thing I do like about the way he's coming out is that he doesn't look like the big mastermind. He looks like a villain that leads up to like an ultimate villain that you don't know about yet, kind of a guy. Like he's taking orders from someone, and maybe like after, at the end of the first season of the show, like you find out he's taking orders from some mastermind that is helping him with that supposedly is helping him along with his project, and the guy is really like super evil or something. Like I'm always formulating this stuff as I go along, especially since it's just for fun for this stream, and I can pretty much do whatever I want, but with the idea that it has to be based in the same kind of logical way that you would create a show for a real show. Yeah. T-Rex hands. Well, the thing about a T-Rex is he's actually got, in compared to his arms, the hands are actually pretty big. But I want this guy to look like he's got, big old mutton chops or hands on the end of these spindly little tiny arms. And play with that even more. Oh, I put that line in the wrong spot. There we go. Centered. Yes, this is much better. And on his epaulette, maybe there'd be the camp logo, so I'll just kind of indicate that's that kind of thumbs up sign that you see on the up here on this little deal right there. So I do have T-shirts that I'm getting made, or I'm going to get a T-shirt made that has the camp logo on it, so I can wear it for the live stream, and they will be available for sale. It'll be on not Redbubble. Like I said last time, I'm kind of getting away from using them because I wasn't too happy with them the last couple of orders I placed. They lost my order a couple of times, and I wasn't too thrilled with them. Sorry, I had to constantly going back and fixing stuff. There we go. He does look like a little bit of a gremlin with the ears. I want to lower that other one a little bit too. There's some pieces of that I'm not. There we go. That's better. Okay. I wanted him to be a little pointy. I don't want him to be like Spock ears. So yeah. So with the magic poof, I got contacted by a really good client. Now he's a really good client. 6-7 years ago, and it's a little African American girl or mixed race girl who's got this big huge ball of hair on her head, and he had no idea how he's going to visualize it, but this ball of hair is called a poof. He's got his own personality. He forms a face in the hair and he talks, and it's a brilliant show. And he did it because there's so many kids, especially young African American girls, who get made fun of because of their hair, the big poof on their head, things like that. And he was giving them a place to go with it, and he wanted to create a show just based around that kind of thing and fitting in, and it was brilliant. So I came up with the design for her and the hair and her friends, and through that, we actually went and pitched it to Nickelodeon. I got to go in and be a part of the pitch meeting to the vice president of new shows, and she loved it. We were set to go to the next step, and as which happens with any industry, she was let go, and they hired somebody else in, and they went in a different direction, and it was too much. They said like another show they had, which it wasn't at all. You know, politics, and you kind of roll with that stuff. It just happens. But the good news is it's still going strong. We're still pitching. We're still talking to people. And it took a long time to develop those characters. And through that, I'm also getting my own show, which is Aliens and Outlaws, pitched. You can go to my website, which is at the very top of the screen there, tkylegentry.com. And you can actually see some images on my main site or get the book of the concept artwork that I'm using as the pitch book. For it. It's about a little orphan in southwest United States in the late 60s, early 70s that gets adopted by intergalactic bounty hunters. He loves Clint Eastwood, so it's got a real Western in space vibe going on, and he keeps his cowboy hat that he has from Earth, so it's incorporated into his costume. His name is Cruz Francisco, so it's got kind of a cool name going on with it, and the designs all came out good, and you know, there's nothing on TV like it, and it speaks to a Latino audience, and I want it to be a bilingual show. And there's nothing like that there, and it would be great. It's, like I said before, it's just getting it in front of people, and that's hard. It's really hard, but it's still there. It's still in pre-production. Still selling books like crazy because there's a ton of kids and kids and adults that want to see it. Whenever I go to a comic convention or something, I'll sell the books, and the books that I have for sale on my online site. I do a drawing in them, and I sign them and make them out to whoever, just like I do at the shows. So, yeah, he's coming along good. His little clipboard. And notice I haven't done the hands yet because I'm still... Yeah, giving him that little open mouth helped a lot, too. That little tiny hint of an open mouth. You can kind of see his teeth in there, and maybe he's got two large teeth that are very separated, you know, when he opens his mouth. Like, I'm thinking ahead to further design. I'm always doing that. So when I go into, like, say this got approved by an art director, I could go ahead and go into further design on him. Sorry about that. All right. I can't exist without my coffee. That's just how I am. And I had a teacher at my art college who gave me one really big piece of advice when it came to, and she wasn't a character designer by any means, she was just a figure teacher. She said two things. She said, everything you draw and everything you paint needs to be a feast for the viewer's eyes. And I try and keep that in mind and give, like, if you go see my other stuff on my website, there's a ton of detail in it. So it's a place where I can do that. But also, the other thing, when it came to the figure drawing, there are two things that you have to get right. You can screw up any other part of anatomy. You can screw up, like, the length of the legs or, you know, some positions or distances or measurements, things like that. But the two things you can't screw up are the face and the hands. Because that's where 95% of expression is made. I mean, look at me now. My hands are up in the air just subconsciously, things like that. That's how you talk to people. That's how you communicate. That's where all that's made. And if you mess that up, then the design's lost. So you really want to nail that. You can screw up a lot of other stuff, but you got to get the facial expressions and you got to get the hand positions. Going back and fixing the way these lines meet. Yeah, that's better. If I noodle too much with it, I start to get too bogged down, and I don't want to do that. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I actually got to meet Dave at Lost Bear Studios. I met him several times out at CTNX, which was a animation convention in California. There were some major issues with the event owner and runner, but I got to meet both of them, and I'd backed one of their Creature Box books on Kickstarter that was brilliant. And in real life, he is just as nice as he is on his show. He's a really, really super cool guy, really accommodating, really open about his technique and talking to you. Just if you ever get the chance to meet him at a convention, if he happens to be there, do yourself a favor and say hello, because he's just a really cool guy. I'm indicating fingernails. Um, little pinky and pointy fingers going on. I like playing with finger positions. Even though really you wouldn't be able to see his thumb in that position. I'm just putting it there just because your brain would put it there, and I can cheat it. It's artistic license. All right. Yes, so much better. So much better. He's definitely got that cranial stuff going on. All right, let's do the 1, 2, 3. Hairs up there, because he loves his hairs. He's like Homer Simpson. He doesn't want to lose those hairs. All right, so I need to indicate the knees. Do a little bit of a calf. I just saw one problem. And there is one thing you can do to check if you've made a mistake in a drawing. Clip Studio has this really great tool over here, and you can do it in real life with a mirror or something. Just look at a reverse image of the drawing, and you can see the problems. He's a little bit leaned back. Everything else looks pretty good. Yeah, okay. But yeah, there's a button up there that will let you flip the drawing back and forth, and also vertically as well. Yeah, he was a little too pushed. Redo that. I'm gonna give him little black socks. I don't know, when it comes to old angry men, I just think of old man sitting out on his front porch, yelling at the kids, Yeah, he is a little bit carrot-like. Maybe the camp kids get together and they paint him, orange in his sleep one day as a prank, and they call him Carrot Head. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It's a nice little design. A nice little design call to. Yeah, I made that a little too big. There we go. I also have to remember to design the angle that's most comfortable to my hand. That's a really great thing about this program, is that you can rotate so easily. And also, too, maybe he's not wearing tennis shoes. Like, I gave him tennis shoes before, but my dad, my late father, wore, up until he moved to Florida when I came to college, he wore wingtips and, like, dress wingtip shoes to work all the time and whatnot. And, let me lower that a little bit. It's a little too high. I've actually found that has creeped itself into my designs for old men because I associate my father. It's personal experience. You should always, always somewhere draw, from personal experience as much as you can, because that's where you have the most intimate knowledge of the subject. So I was thinking this would be hilarious if this dude hates running the camp and he's only there to serve his own needs, so he's got these wingtips that he wears, as if he's got disdain for being outdoors. You know, they always got those little design elements in them. And they wouldn't be high tops. They'd be dress shoes, so I got to get rid of that. But I always thought it was interesting. He never wore tennis shoes, and he never wore jeans. He always wore slacks. When he came to Florida, it was the first time I'd ever seen him wear shorts as he got older. It was just kind of funny that way. Yeah, something not right about that foot. The angle's wrong. So what I'll do, since I got the one, I'll just copy and flip. Because like I said, this is the semi kind of mid design of him. It's not the super cleaned up version that I'd add color to like Venny down here. There we go. I'll give it a little bit of a different angle and take and redraw a piece of it so it's not a perfect mirror image. I don't want it to be too symmetrical. I'll redo the bottom of it for this side, make it stick out a little bit. Because wingtips always have heels, and how do you show that? You know, make them dark, just indicate it. Yeah, bunnies. Well, in the Everglades, you wouldn't have bunnies. That's the thing. I got to be mindful of where it's at. You know, like I did the alligator design, and you know that's super cute. So I'd have to figure out a different animal. We have those little gecko lizard things. They could follow them around. We do have bunnies, but not in the Everglades. You don't. They get hunted down. Little birds. That'd be hilarious. There's a ton of little birds down there. I mean, there's a lot of wildlife. Don't get me wrong. We have these sand cranes that make these insane noises at night that you'd think there was an animal killing 5 other animals out there whenever they walk by. It's hilarious. And you don't want to come up to them because they're kind of mean. But yeah, he's doing good. All right. Time is 8:53. Okay. So for those that are new, I try and keep it to about an hour and a half. So about another half hour to go. So I might do some cleanup on him. Yeah, that is nice. That is really nice, but I need to maybe indicate an elbow down here. There we go. All right. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to take out that, get rid of that entirely. And then I'm going to, this is where I do the size comparison and lineup. So I'm going to take Venny and pop him over to the left, and then I start to really see, yeah, size-wise how they look together. Venny needs to come down. I made him bigger just so you guys could see him better, but size-wise, he's about right here. He's very small for his age, as I've said before. That's one of his hang-ups, is he's very small for his age. Now let me pop up Lurkin. Oh, yeah, he's pretty big. All right. Good old Ben. And he's a big dude. I want him to be bigger, you know. Like, he'd walk up to the director and smack him on the back and like, hey there, director, how you doing? You know, and just hit him really hard. Oh yeah, the campers in bunny onesies. Oh, you guys are full of the good ideas tonight. That's genius, guys. I love it. The onesies. Oh my god, that would be so funny to see the campers walking around in onesies. You know, if they really wanted to play a prank on him, paint him orange, and then, you know, have him look in the mirror like make him think he's actually been turned into a carrot, and then like chase him in bunny onesies. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you guys are genius. I love it. I really do. Pop him over. And that's visually, like, you guys are smart too, because that's visually relatable. Like, that's really, really funny. Uh, there we go. For some reason, it latched onto all my. There's. Yeah, so size-wise, that's good. That's really good. I had one other too. These are some of the cleanups I did from last week. Let me pull over Mr. Edsel and do a size on him as well. And just kind of... Oh, that's really big. Okay. I didn't want to do that. Mr. Edsel is kind of size-wise right around there. He's an adult, but I want Lurkin to be a little bit larger than life. Like, he's a big dude. Yes. And now that I see, I think the design direction that I went with the director actually does work well, because if I look at his eyes, even though they're a little further apart, and I look at Mr. Edsel's eyes, it works. It definitely works. And the other ones too. And I realize on Sheila from Australia, the foreign exchange camper, I didn't put the color section of her eyes in the iris. So I'll fix her. I could do that right now, really quick, if you guys want to see it, because it's going to drive me nuts if I don't. That is going to drive me insane now that I know that it's there. Go to darker pencil and there we go. That's nice. She's sweet. Let me save that before I forget. Huh. Tight lines, yes. Definitely save that. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to what we've been working on today. Oh, leave him up there. And I'll get a little bit of the tight lines for him done tonight. Alright, so again, it'll be a draw over. So get rid of that under, make this the under, and go in with my old dark pencil that's from an older version of Clip Studio that they changed the settings on, and I can't get back, but old darker pencil. This is where the fun begins. So, oh, new layer. My bad. This is where I find the heart of the lines. The soul of each line, these beautiful breathing lines that you see that you lose in the new style of animation that's all thin line animation. And while I understand it's more cost effective, I don't like it. They're using it on the new Animaniacs series. They use it on almost all the Adult Swim stuff. And I appreciate the artistry. I do. I don't have a problem with it, with that part of it, but I don't like the fact that they gave up quality for, you know, for such a cheap looking way of doing things. It drives me crazy. They call it the CalArts style. It's not meant to be an insult for those that graduated from CalArts. It's just meant that that's how they're teaching people now. It's Toon Boom animation, and it's the program that they're all learning to use, and it's all thin line, all of it. Drives me crazy. Nope. There we go. I don't want to keep the line too curved. I want that angle, like I said, for the villainry to be in there. That shape language about a villain, I wanted it all to be in there. Oh yeah, yeah. He's not a nice dude. Now I've got the campers in bunny suits running around my head like crazy. Oh my gosh, that might actually have to be a design variant of all the campers. Like that. Okay, you've given me an idea for a whole episode right there. That's got to be hilarious. So if I did because a lot of times in a pitch Bible that you use to pitch a show, you'll have like some kind of variant that you show the possibilities of what you could do with the character, and that would be great for a story arc if they, early in the show, if they, to show the kind of relationship they have with the camp director, they play this prank on him, and then I'd have to design what the bunny costumes looks like for each character. And for Vinny and for Sheila, it'd be very much the same, but for Donna, his friend, like, over here, like, the ears would have to cover the hair or something like that. It would be just hilarious. I mean, just hilarious. And then, of course, Sheila's, like, the ears would all kind of fall off to one side because she's got the side ponytail. I mean, yeah, keep the ideas coming because that's really cool. I like that. I'll keep that little point in his head. I like that. It works. Like he's got a flat top. Like you could set stuff on it. That would be... maybe they took his 3 hairs and they tied him up and that's how they got the leaves for the carrots in or something. I don't know. That'd be really funny. Yeah, his tight lines are actually going really well. I'm really, really pleased. Maybe give him a little bit of wildness to his hair, his mutton chop kind of hair. I'm like thinking like, the founding fathers of the United States with the big mutton chops they would have, or, maybe it's a remnant of how cool his hair used to be. Like, if we did a flashback episode where he was just made new director of the camp back in the 1980s, and Lurkin comes to work there for the summer, the director had a full head of hair, and it was like Elvis hair. It was like huge, basically covered this entire dome would be great, or he had a fro, or, something like that. And when you see him again, when Vinny comes to camp, 40 years later, he's been demolished to this for his hair. Oh yeah, he's super protective of those hairs. I'm telling you, it's like Homer Simpson with his hair. He freaks out if anything even comes close to hurting them. See, that's a nice little happy accident. I got that beautiful almost pointy curve. It's an almost point, and then I can't do it on the other side. There we go. That's a little better. It's almost a point, but not quite. You kind of question it. He looks like a really angry hourglass in some dimensions, and in some ways with his design. Oh man, I love it when I can hit those lines right off the bat. I don't have to keep redrawing and getting them. Maybe he's got a few liver spots to show age. The more lines you use, the older your character looks. Actually, you know what? I taught myself a long time ago, and I always have to reteach myself every time, is for that outer circle, for an eye, you do the outer circle first. Of course, my hands aren't going to cooperate at the moment. I have a central tremor in my hands, and 99.9% of the time it's fine when I'm drawing, but at a certain angle, my hand starts to shake. It's really hard for a guy in my profession, but you do what you can. You do what you have to. Nothing's ever going to stop me from drawing. But I've had it since I was... Oh, my line's too thick. Okay, there we go. I've had it since I was 9. I was diagnosed with, at the time it was called benign tremor. And they reclassified it because it's a neurological disorder. As I got older, they reclassified it into essential tremor. It I mean, it's always shaken this bad. So I will say, when digital art came along, it was a godsend for me. It was a huge, huge, wonderful thing because uh, it allowed me to do the stuff I wanted to do, and because I could go back and fix the line if I needed to. Um, so if you've got issues with shaky hands or anything like that, I feel you, but I know you can work around it. I know you can, because I can. It gets really bad if I get stressed or if I get hungry. That's when I know I need to eat, or I need to go chill or play a video game or something. I'm a big gamer, so I'll just go chill out and blow something up. All right. And there is the concentric circle tool. Greg uses that a lot. I love it for mechanical stuff, but for the eyes, I need something more organic. I want it to be a more organic shape. I want it to look hand-drawn. I use the concentric circle tool a lot when I'm doing sci-fi work. And I'm going to have some of that up in video form as well when it comes to the Cruz Francisco stuff. Just going to select that and move it. I need to bump it just a little bit. Maybe turn it ever so slightly. There we go. Okay. Yes. All right. And the specular light, kind of that reflective light for a cartoon, I always have it break this line where the color and the actual dark depths of the eye, the pupil, would be. It adds more character to the character. It really does. There we go. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Oh yeah, this is a good guy. Oh, or not good guy. It's a good villain. I'm having a lot of fun. Designs always come out so much better when I'm having fun. Seriously, it's not a dredge. I don't want to show the nostril. I don't want to go too far into that because that'll make his nose too complicated. I started making a mistake when I first started designing these in the beginning sessions where I would make the nose too complicated, and I'm trying to go off of, Venny's design, and his nose is just an oval, and I want the adults to be a little bit more detailed, but it still has to, again, speak the same language as the rest of the show. Now I can really show his teeth just a little bit. That's better. Okay. It's the little things, It really is. Finding that perfect angle and breadth of line. Yeah, it's my mom took me aside and she said you could let your shaking hands be an impediment, but you don't have to let them stop you. And the thing is, it doesn't make me special. It doesn't, like the hand thing doesn't. It's just a challenge. And everybody deals with challenges. Everybody has their own challenge, but I appreciate that. I think they're the words. It got to me in college a little bit when I was having to do like figure drawing on newsprint. If I had to have my hand up in the air like this for too long, and like you can actually see it shakes. Even now a little bit, but if it's tense up in the air, and then you're sitting on those stupid wooden horses with the board in front of you, oh, my back hurt, my legs hurt, which leads to tension, which made my hand shake worse. And it put it to the test. It really did. But you're always going to have challenges to what you want to do with your life and your your dreams, and not to get too cheesy, but it's what do you do about those challenges? How do you lick those challenges? How do you beat those challenges? How do you make them submit to you? And um, it's not going to beat me. I'm not going to let it. Originally my parents were terrified because my family has a history of Huntington's disease. And that doesn't usually show up until you're much older, but hey, anything can happen. And it doesn't skip generations. And my dad lived to be 80, and he never had it. So I don't have it. It gets younger with every generation that it hits too, but that's what they were afraid of when they had me tested. They thought it was a precursor to something that bad later in life, and they assured me no when I was younger that wasn't the problem. At least not that the doctors could tell. And urged them to encourage me like they would if that wasn't a scare at all. So I do have challenges sometimes when I'm trying to hold a cup of coffee. Sometimes my left hand does it worse than my right. So if I'm holding, I'll lose balance in my left hand and I'll almost spill. And then I just switch hands. It's I hit the button. I've got the button on my pen toggled so that I can switch back and forth between the two colors here, and the back button on the pen so I can switch to that transparent color. And sometimes I hit it and I'm like, why is my lines white? Why am I erasing? What's the deal? I can add a little bit of ornamentation to this. Make it a little special, like he thinks he's special, I thought too it would be really funny if this actually did one day get turned into a kid show. How cool would it be if the theme song for the show was like a camp song that the kids would sing leading into the camp show? Like, how cool would that be? And then I started hearing it in my head, like what it could sound like. And I don't write music, and I played percussion when I was in high school, and I know a little bit about it. But it would be really cool if somebody could write a camp sing-along song. And you'd have like a little bouncing ball at the bottom of the screen as the credits are rolling up and spinning in. That would be like super great. I would have so much fun listening to that, and it would be it'd be something like of a jingle too, so that kids could understand it, and could sing it back, and when they heard it, they'd know. Like when you hear the SpongeBob theme music, you know what's coming, and that would be a lot of fun. All right. Just indicating the logo there, They're almost like admiral's epaulettes that you'd see on a boat admiral's costume. And one of these weeks, I'm going to focus solely when I do the the garage building for the camp airboat. That's like the school bus that they would use. I'll go back and within those couple weeks, I'll look really closely at the bus driver design, the ex NASCAR guy, and really have some fun, like maybe with sponsor patches all over his jumpsuit that he uses, or and stuff like that. Because that's one of the things that I learned that they like to see in pitch Bibles. For the young people watching, a pitch Bible is what I'm creating. It's basically the entire book that you use of artwork to show people at a television studio or an animation studio the idea of the entire show, so that you can have them say yes and we'll make it to a real show. So that's what I'm doing now. But they like to see marketing material, and how cool would it be that you could actually get real patches that were based on his patches. Yes. It would be, yeah, imagine like the parody camp songs that you'd sing, like, like that we used to sing about teachers in school, and or any of the holiday songs, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, like that kind of an ideology of a camp song. Um, or but as far as marketing material, maybe there's an actual label advertising the ice cream brand that you could get on a T-shirt that the zombie ate, the Patootie de Fruity ice cream, and that name came from me and a couple of my college friends when we would go eat dinner late and when I say late, I mean like 3 a.m. late at Denny's after I would get off. I worked at an ice cream shop, so that's where I'm getting some of my stuff in. My first summer in college, and we would go eat there, and they had, we ate there, we'd eat at IHOP, and they had, Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity was the name of the IHOP, one of the IHOP dishes, and, what if we had an ice cream named Patootie de Fruity, and would it make fart sounds, and, just all kinds of crazy stuff, but the name stuck with me. I'm like, that would be hilarious in here for the kind of ice cream that he ate that turned him into a zombie. And it's his favorite flavor or something like that, My friends, I had 2 friends named Tisha and Marley, and we joked about that. In fact, one of them shouted it at my graduation ceremony. I was grabbing my diploma, and I heard this voice from the back of the room, "Patootie de Fruity!" Just as a kind of a signal saying congratulations from my friend Marley and my friend Tisha. They screamed it. It was epic. My family had no idea what it meant, neither did any of the administration, but they just screamed it in the back of the room, back of the auditorium. It was so great. So I got to honor that somehow. Yes, okay, and he's got his rolls. Get that line going. There we go. Yes. But yeah, there would be like almost like kiddie toy music that you could use behind the song itself. Or kazoos. I mean, good lord, that would be funny. Kazoos behind kids singing this really horrible camp song. Oh yeah. A little bit of theremin music going on, like they used for old sci-fi movies and horror movies, things like that, because it is about a zombie. I mean, could work. There we go. So if I go silent, sometimes I'm kind of like some of the other YouTubers I see. I start to get focused. So if I stop, say something. Oh man, time we got. All right, got about 10 minutes left. Yeah, I can finish this up, and that'll be it for the night. I can get this done in 10. I got to come up with a name for him. I'm kind of slacking it on his name because I've got names for most of the other characters. Got one for the bus / airboat driver for the camp that I keep thinking of, and then I keep forgetting, and I got to write it down because it's great, and I keep forgetting it. I hate that. I hate that that happens. Yeah, some of the knuckles were out a little too far, so I'm fixing that right now. Yes, he's definitely more in line with the show design now. I do draw through, so I'm not doing it on separate layers, but I draw through lines that I know I'm going to be erasing just so I can get the line looking good. I'd have it on multiple layers, but I don't want to create too many. I used to use a ton of layers in my artwork, and I'm trying not to use too many now, so I don't become reliant on them. I use them, especially for masking, but I even want his fingers to have a little bit more of a squareness to them than the other campers. Because that's more of that angular that I'm talking about, that angular shape language. Maybe he's got a checklist or something and has to be followed. Terry Ann, the other character I designed, that's one of the junior counselors. She's kind of mean, a little bit of a villainous. Just takes out her frustration on the other campers. She's got a clipboard as well, so she's kind of trying to be like this guy, but she's not as evil as him no matter how hard she tries. She wants to be, but she's not. A little bit of wingtips going on there. Yeah, now you can really see him. Keeping those lines simple. No overcomplication. Because like I said, it's for hand-drawn animation. The more complicated you make the characters, the harder they are to animate. So you want to tell your message in the simplest way possible when it comes to the characters. That's better. A little bit of darkness to the sole of the shoe. All right. And of course the shoe will be brown, you know, something really brown shoes and black socks. Typical old man. Doesn't match at all. So let's do this on an underlayer. I don't want to. This is where a layer is important, and I'll go back to rough pencil because I want to show his eyebrows are rough, but I don't want to overdo it. Where's my old rough? There it is, my old rough pencil. That way I can just erase what's on the outside of the lines. I've got this beautiful, lovely sketch-looking shade going on. I want the opposite angle of the stroke. And for those that like my Monty the Unfortunate Octopus interactive wall art series, there's a new one coming soon for that. I'm working on it right now. Actually, 2 of them, but I can only do so much. And I'm also working on the next 4 Macabre McMorbidly family members. I do them in sets of 4. So that's set G, I believe. No, H. Sorry, G I got done. I'm working on set H right now. So those are going to be good. I got people that collect those from shows and such, and they're always looking for news on when I get the next ones done. Yes, I'll do the same thing with his hair. Keep it kind of wild. Point of convergence is right there at the top of his ear, like that's where it sprouts from. And maybe I give him, like, his hair's a little dark here. Maybe I'll make his hair gray when I actually do the colorized version. So I'm going to keep these on a separate layer so I can go back and fix them later on. All right. Looks pretty good. Sweet. Okay. Move him over a little bit and get everybody back in line. Just making sure you guys can see everybody in the lineup. Oop, nope, 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 nope. put Ben way over here, and I'll get Edsel. Nope. Right here. So let's do this. Let's do Edsel here. Just making it all fit on one page, and I'm dealing with the general space. Yeah, here we go. Put him here. And then put Venny right there. We go. Okay. Put Edsel underneath everybody. There we go. Okay, so you've got Edsel here, and I'm comparing adults pretty much right here. The only one I don't have on here is the driver. Actually, I did name that driver. Oh crap! It's still not coming to me. It's like I said. I remember it and then I'll forget it. Garters. Garters are hilarious if you're an adult. The problem is kids wouldn't register what that is. They'd be like, what are those weird lines that are going up his legs? And I need to show more leg for that. So while it's a good idea, it skews a little too old in reference. And I don't think I'd get that past a director. Because it wouldn't make sense to them. It's a 1950s reference. But a great idea. Way to think out of the box. All right, let me throw a line on there too. That way I've got a baseline for them all to be standing on. I always like doing that. That way it gives me a little bit of a reference. Because they're pretty much linear. I'm not showing them in perspective or anything. It's just a straight line up. That's all. Just a straight up line up. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I think we're gonna call that for this time. So we've got a really much better direction for the director, and I'll have a name for him at some point. But let me get rid of these guys so you can see. Where is the old version? Ah, there he is. Okay, so that's what we started with. This is what we started with. And you can see it still captures the same base elements of what I wanted. He's a little more angular, positioned a little differently. The only thing I might change is when I do the color on him, I might move his head a little bit over to the right because he's got more shoulder on my right side than he does behind the clipboard. So little design things that I can fix later on. But for right now, I think this would be a great villain, or a semi-medium, not the arch villain, but the hench villain, if you will, that could kick things off. I don't know what the arch villain would be. Maybe this guy is the director and the owner, the actual owner of the camp is some shadowy figure that runs everything that no one's ever met. And why in the world would he put a children's camp in the Everglades, like on these rickety old buildings in the middle of a swamp? And like that is stuff that we can explore in the stories and everything. But right now, for tonight, I think we've had a good, successful night. I think it gets the character in a much better direction for language in the show. I still might make a little tweak here and there. But overall, I think it was a good, successful drawing night. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back next Thursday. Enjoyed having you here. Enjoyed chatting with you a little bit and sketching around, having some fun. So you guys have a great week. Be safe. Be kind to each other. Yeah. So peace out and God bless, guys. Hope you're having a great night. Thanks for being here.